The U.S. Vice President JD Vance will be leading the American delegation at those ceasefire talks which are planned in Islamabad, Pakistan on Saturday. He says Israel might offer to hold off on attacks in Lebanon.
The Israelis, as I understand it, again, I'm supposed to get a fuller report when I get on the plane, have actually offered to be, frankly, to check themselves a little bit in Lebanon because they want to make sure that our negotiation is successful. That's not because that is part of the ceasefire. I think that's the Israelis trying to set us up for success, and we'll, of course, see how that unfolds in the next few days. But look, if Iran wants to let this negotiation fall apart in a conflict where they were getting hammered over Lebanon, which has nothing to do with them and which the United States never once said was part of the ceasefire, that's ultimately their choice.
Well, security has been beefed up across Islamabad ahead of those talks. Al Jazeera's Kamal Hyder is near the venue of the discussions with this update.
Extraordinary security measures are in place here in the capital, Islamabad, where the U.S. negotiators and the Iranians are going to be meeting at the Serena Hotel, which is just a few hundred meters from here. But all access to that area has been sealed off. Islamabad's red zone has been sealed, and of course the district administration has declared a two-day holiday in view of the security situation here. They want to ensure that there is no untoward incident. Pakistan, of course, is going to be mediating crucial talks between the US and Iranian negotiators. This is going to provide a ray of hope for bringing a settlement to the conflict in the Middle East. Although there is skepticism, Pakistan, of course, is trying its best with support from friendly countries in order to try to de-escalate the crisis and find a diplomatic pathway to resolve this issue. Kamal Hyder, Al Jazeera, Islamabad.
For more on Pakistan's role, we're now joined by Maleeha Lodhi, who's a former Pakistani ambassador to the United Nations and the United States, and is joining us from Islamabad. Ambassador, thank you so much for being with us on Al Jazeera once again. Before we talk about what's going to happen in Islamabad, can I ask you first whether Pakistan, when it facilitated this ceasefire agreement, whether it was clearly understood that Lebanon was excluded from the agreement?
No, quite the contrary. Pakistan's understanding is that Lebanon was part of the ceasefire agreement, which is why the Prime Minister of Pakistan, Shehbaz Sharif, actually stated that, I believe, in a tweet. So our understanding is exactly the same as Iran's understanding. But of course, it's been contradicted by President Trump himself.
Yeah, by the Americans and the Israelis. So what is Pakistan's reaction then to this escalation ahead of the negotiations in Islamabad?
Well, we've condemned the Israeli attack on Lebanon. And of course, while there was cautious optimism before this attack about the talks in Islamabad, there is now increasing worry amongst officials in Islamabad about the fate of the ceasefire and, of course, how Iran will react. I mean, as of now, the Iranian delegation is expected later today, but it's unclear who will head that delegation. So I think there is a lot of uncertainty that has been created by Israel's actions. And that comes on the back of worry anyway. Even before Israel did this, there was a lot of skepticism in Islamabad about the role of Israel and whether it would play its habitual role as spoiler, because it is clearly not seen to be in Israel's interest, which is why in the run-up to this ceasefire, Pakistani officials had specifically asked their American counterparts whether they will be able to rein in or to restrain Israel, and we were given the assurance that the Americans would do that.
Yeah, Pakistan is trying to mediate now a ceasefire with one party conducting, at least the allies of one party conducting these attacks in operation. So how then does the Pakistani leadership maintain credibility with Iran when, you know, the US allied state is killing hundreds of people in Lebanon? What is its contingency plans to make sure that these talks stay on track?
Well, I think two things. First of all, we have to keep the communication going. And secondly, it's not Pakistan's credibility that's on the line. It's America's credibility that's on the line, because it is the Americans who assured us that the ceasefire will hold and there will be nothing done provocatively to derail the ceasefire or to derail the talks. So I think the onus is not on Pakistan. Pakistan, of course, will continue its good faith efforts to try to speak to both parties to ensure that the talks remain on track for Saturday. But again, this is not entirely in Pakistan's control. Pakistan, after all, is not a party. It's an interlocutor. It's a mediator. It's an interlocutor. But it's up to the two principal parties to now figure out how to ensure that the talks go ahead.
Is there back-channel communication happening right now between the Pakistani army, which we know has close ties to the U.S. Army, and also with Saudi Arabia, which has good relations with both Lebanon and Israel? Pakistan has good relations. And are they channels of communications that are open to try and de-escalate the situation and respond to this latest escalation?
Well, communication is ongoing. It's ongoing with those who have to be here for the talks. And of course, with Saudi Arabia, conversations also go on all the time, because it's important for Pakistan to keep Saudi Arabia informed, briefed, and on board. But as I said before, I mean, really the onus is on the United States and on President Trump to ensure that Israel doesn't sabotage the talks in Islamabad.
But Ambassador Lodhi, realistically, do you think these talks can proceed given the current conditions?
I think both sides have strong incentives to ensure that the talks do go ahead. But of course, there are changing dynamics at play. So it's hard to say with any certainty. But I think if the two parties have come this far, there's every reason to believe that they will be able to figure out how to deal with the Israel factor. And again, that's for Washington to do, to make sure that the talks are on schedule.
Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us, Ambassador. Maleeha Lodhi, former Pakistani ambassador to the UN and US, joining us there from Islamabad.